Enhance your reading skills with this exciting video on story elements.
Learning can be fun! If you like learning in exciting and engaging ways, then Talking Study Guides is for you! I'm Mr. C, and let's get started. Superman saves the day again! Now that's a good book! Today, we're going to be learning about story elements. Story elements are the pieces that make up stories. Story elements are found in fictional books and in movies. And I got this feeling that we're going to be learning a ton today. One important story element is the setting. The setting is the time and location that the story takes place in. The time can be the past, the present, or even the future.
The setting of a story can take place anywhere that the author wants to take us, such as a powerful kingdom.
As your new king, I declare Fridays to be Ice Cream Day! Ice cream for breakfast, lunch, and dinner!
A distant planet.
It's the year 2132 on the planet of Zunkalunk. We are being invaded by space aliens, and only I can save us!
Or the Wild Wild West.
If you're coming around here looking for trouble, that's what you're gonna find. The characters are the individuals that the story is about. The characters can be people or even animals.
The main character is the lead character that the book is mostly about. Supporting characters are characters in the book that help the main character. And don't forget about those ill-mannered villains. The things that villains do may upset you, but without villains, stories wouldn't be nearly as interesting. If a story makes you sad, mad, or glad, it probably means that you are paying close attention to what is going on.
If someone says to you, what's the plot of a book or a movie? What they're really asking you is, what's the story about? Tell me a little bit about the story and how does it unfold? But be careful, don't give away too much information such as the ending, or that could spoil it for the person that's asking.
Most stories follow a plot that includes a beginning, where you get to know the characters, a middle, in which events take place, and an ending, where the story comes to a close. You can think of these plot elements like a mountain. The top, which is also called the peak of the mountain, features the climax, which is the most exciting part of the story, where the problem reaches a high point.
The problem in a story is something that's going wrong and something that needs to be fixed. Stories can have one problem or many problems. Generally, the more that you're reading the story and the more that you get into it, the more problems that you're going to encounter. I always say, more story, more problems. A solution is how a problem is solved. Being a good problem solver is an excellent life skill. Let's say I can't get this jar of pickles open. I try, but the jar just won't open. There's probably going to be a lot of ideas that go through my head, but using common sense, I need to be a good problem solver as to how to open this jar. Come on, open! I haven't got all day. Hold steady, this is gonna hurt a little. You're not gonna get the best of me, pickle jar! So the first few ideas that popped into my head were pretty bad and pretty dangerous too. However, I found this handy rag that I thought would help give me a better grip to open the jar. And sure enough, it did the trick. That's what characters do in stories. They turn into problem solvers. When you're reading a story, try to think to yourself, how does this character find a solution? And then connect it to real events in your life. Many stories carry a theme or a life lesson that teaches people good character traits or good morals. Lessons like don't be greedy or always help others are a few examples of how stories can teach good values. Let's now look at a reading passage so that we can practice some of these story elements that we learned.
Yippie the dog. Yippie was a friendly dog that lived with his loving family in Ashburn, Virginia. Yippie was a well-behaved dog, but every night after his family went to bed, he would wake them up by howling until someone let him out. Yippie's family understood the responsibility of owning a dog, and they loved Yippie, but they also needed to sleep at night without being interrupted. Finally, Yippie's family thought of a way to solve the problem. Yippie's family installed a small doggy door that Yippie could fit through, so that he could let himself in and out as he needed. In just one day, the doggy door worked like a charm, and the problem was solved. Let's review some of the story elements that we learned. The plot of the story features a dog that needs to go out at night and is waking up his owners. The setting of the story takes place in Ashburn, Virginia. The characters mentioned in the story are Yippie and Yippie's family. The problem is that Yippie needs to go out at night and he howls until someone lets him out. Yippie wakes up his whole family and causes a lack of sleep for everyone. The solution that his owners come up with is to install a doggy door, and in the end, we are told that it is successful in solving the problem. In terms of a theme or a lesson learned, you could have several different responses. As long as it connects with the events from the story, it can be a correct answer. A reasonable lesson learned could be to problem solve when you have an issue in life. You may also feel that the big idea of the story is that it's the pet owner's responsibility to take care of their pets.
Now that we've learned and practiced some of the major story elements, let's see if you can get some on your own. There's going to be 5 questions, so do your best and strive for 5.
Nora and the Fairy. It was a stormy Saturday in the town of Magicville. An 8-year-old girl named Nora stared out her window watching the storm. Suddenly, a giant oak tree in her yard was struck by lightning. The massive tree collapsed and now laid in the middle of her yard. After the rain cleared, Nora went to investigate the tree. Nora analyzed the huge tree and then noticed 2 tiny wings next to one of the fallen branches. As she looked more closely, she realized they were the wings of a fairy. Nora lifted the branch up and gently removed the injured fairy from underneath the branch. Nora brought the fairy into her home and gave her medical care. Later that day, the fairy woke up and thanked Nora for saving her life. As the fairy recovered, Nora and the fairy became good friends. Nora showed her how to make homemade popcorn, taught her how to read, and introduced her to Disney+. The fairy particularly loved the movies with Tinkerbell. When the fairy had fully healed, she thanked her BFF Nora and promised to visit her every year on her birthday. Question 1. Where does this story take place? Does it take place in Kansas, Magicville, or the Pride Lands? If you said Magicville, you're fairy-rific correct. Question 2. Who is the main character? Is it Nora, Elsa, or the oak tree? If you said Nora, you're correct. Question 3. What was the problem in the story? Nora's house flooded, the fairy was injured, or Nora was sick? If you said the problem was that the fairy was injured, you're correct. Question 4. Based on the passage, what word best describes Nora? Selfish, funny, or helpful? If you said helpful, awesome sauce, you're correct. Question 5. When did the fairy promise to return? Every holiday, on Nora's birthday, or April 17th? If you said on Nora's birthday, ding ding ding, you're right.
Every time you read a book or watch a movie, be on the lookout for these story elements. As a writer, you should be sure to include these story elements in your writing and then let your imagination run wild. I'll see you later. Thanks for joining us, but for now, I'm off to the Wild West. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching.